Okay, this is the place where we had stopped in our previous video. Uh, okay, let's move on from menus. In the next section, we'll take a look at checkboxes and radio buttons. C#.NET checkboxes and radio buttons. Checkboxes and radio buttons are way to offer your users choices. Checkboxes allow a user to select multiple options, whereas radio buttons allow only one. Let's see how to use them. Okay, so now this one is important. If you have several checkboxes, I hope you are familiar and you know what are checkboxes, then usually users are allowed to select tick multiple checkboxes. But when you use a group of radio buttons, the users are allowed to select only one. For an example, male or female. Then we can use radio buttons. Okay, so in that situation, either male or female, only one selection is allowed. Okay, but when it comes to checkboxes, you can select multiple checkboxes. Okay, now start a new project. When your new form appears, make it nice and big. Because checkboxes and radio buttons are small and fiddly to move around, it's best to place them on a group box. You can then move the group box and checkboxes and radio buttons will move with them. Okay, so let's start our Visual Studio IDE. Now I am going to create a new project. Then here Windows Forms application. Then let's move to next. The location, let's select here where we were recording our projects. Now for the name, let's say check radio. Any name you could have given. I have just given such a name. Okay, so don't worry about the name. Anyway, then let's click next. Then after clicking create button, it takes some time. Okay, now forms application will be created by the IDE. Now here you can see the Solution Explorer and here Properties window and here Toolbox. Okay, now this is our form. Then locate the group box control in the toolbox on the left under containers, it looks like this. Now actually if you use a set of checkboxes or set of radio buttons, then you have to group them. So in order to do that, so under containers you can see group box control. Double click on that and then you can get a group box to your form. Okay, then draw one out on your form. Locate the text property in the properties window on the right of C#. Change the text property to what type of movies do you like. Then here you can see the default text. Once you have selected the group box, then you can go to the properties window and change the text property to what type of movies do you like. Okay, now you can see it here. Now this is our group box. You can group a set of controls using a group box. Add a second group box along side of the first one and set the text property as and your favorite is. Okay, your form will then look like this. Another group box I am going to add under containers. And your favorite is. Yes, it should be you should be here. Favorite. Okay, now there are two group boxes on our form. If you select this, now you can see its properties. By default the name is group box 1. If you select this, and then its name is group box 2, group box 2. Those are the default names assigned by the Visual Studio IDE. We'll place some checkboxes on the first group box and some radio buttons on the second one. Locate the checkbox control on the toolbox under command controls. Draw one out of your first group box. In the properties area on the right, notice that the default name property is checkbox 1. Leave it on this. Okay, now let's try to do this one. Under common controls, you will see checkbox. If you double click, and you can drag it to your group box. Okay, the other thing is once you move your group box, the controls inside the group box also move with it. Okay, and you can use these blue color horizontal and vertical lines to properly align your controls. And now if you select the checkbox, if you select the checkbox and go to its properties, the name property is checkbox 1, that is the default name. Actually we can change if we want. And checkbox 1, this is the text property, that this is what you see here. Okay, then in the properties area on the right, notice that the default name property is checkbox 1. Leave it on this, but locate the text property and change it to comedy. This one, so comedy. Draw 4 more checkboxes on the group box and set the text properties as follows: action, science fiction, romance, animation. You can copy and paste the first one instead of drawing them out. Make the text bold, and your group box should look like this. Then the other thing is, here once you select this particular checkbox, you can go to the font property. From there you may select bold. Okay, now you can see it bold. Okay, so then after that, now you have changed certain properties. The font property you have changed in this control. So if you need another checkbox, usually what you do is you double click the checkbox item and get a one. But again you have to say, make it bold, and likewise you have to change the properties. Without doing that, you can easily right click this and copy, then paste. Okay, now you can get another checkbox. Now you can see the text property and boldness, those things are same, but if you look at, if you click this, the name property is checkbox 1. If you click the second one, its name property is checkbox 2. Likewise, even though you copy and paste, name property will be always unique for those controls. Now what you should do is, we need 2, 3, 4, 5. Again let's say again okay, then this one comedy, then text property of this action, this one science fiction, this one romance, and then this one animation. Okay, now Okay, then this one. After that, you add radio buttons in the same. So add 5 radio buttons to the second group box. Leave the name property on the defaults, but change the text to the same as for the checkboxes. Your form should look like ours below when you are finished. Now you can see here a radio button, then you can move it to this group box. Then if you go to the font property, you can make it bold. Okay, then likewise you need how many 5. You just copy this, okay. Then let's change the text property. The same here. You move to the text property. Then this one is comedy. This one is action. This one is science fiction. This one is romance. This one is animation. Okay, then here you can change its size. Okay, now let's run this. It takes some time. Now you can see your application. So here now you can see you may select multiple check boxes. You can either check or uncheck. Checking multiple check boxes are allowed, but here you can see only one is allowed at a time. Okay, so that is the difference between using checkboxes and using radio buttons. What type of movies do you like? Okay, so user may have several action movies, romance movies and animation movies, but favorite one only single one, therefore action. Okay, likewise the user can select. Okay, now add 2 buttons, one below each group box. Set the text for the first one as selected movies. Set the text for the second one as favorite movie. Here is what your form should look like now. Okay, now let's add 2 buttons. So here the text property, selected movies, sorry sorry Now if you move to the font property, let's make this one also bold. Now you can simply copy and paste. Now you can see another button appears. The size, another button appears. Its size is same as our previous button, and text and also properties of fonts same. But if you look at this, if you look at the name property, it's button 1 by default, this one button 2. Okay, therefore you can see Visual Studio IDE is always careful of making each control, giving each control a unique name. Okay, now that's why you can see unique names, button 1 and button 2. Here the text property, then I will change to favorite, favorite favorite movie. Now you can see it let's run our application. You can see nothing will happen when you click buttons. Okay, so now let's try to program these buttons. Run your form and test it out. What you should find is that you can select as many checkboxes as you like, but only one of the radio buttons. Stop your program and return to design time. What we'll do now is to write code to get at which selections the user made. First, the checkboxes. Okay, now let's work with checkboxes first. Double click your selected movies button to open up the code window. Our code will use the check property of checkboxes. This is either true or false. That means if you look at a checkbox, okay, and its checked property, if you select a checkbox and go to the checked property, that is by default it is false. That's why when we initially run this form, run our application, it's unchecked initially. Okay, so if you want to get it checked at the initial run, you can simply go to the checked property and set it true. Then after you have run this, then you will see at the initial run it is already checked. You may uncheck or check again. Okay, therefore let's keep this false. Okay, initially this is false. Okay, Now okay, double click your selected movies button to open up the code window. Our code will make use of check property of checkboxes. This is either true or false. That means it will be true if the user places a check in the box, and false if there is no check. That means if the checkbox is checked, then check property is true. If it is not checked, then the check property is false. Okay. Now let's double click this one. We can use if statements to test the values of each checkbox. We only need to test for a true value. Now you can do it like this. If you write this one, now in checkbox 1 we check the checked property. If it is checked, this condition is true. If it is not checked, this condition is false. Okay. We can also build up a message if an option was selected. You can declare and initialize a string variable to an empty string. Then if the checkbox 1 is checked, then to the movies we put checkbox 1 dot text. We concatenate to this empty string. I hope you are familiar. In the first year you have learnt C programming. Therefore, I think you are familiar. Here to the empty string, if it is checked, then we concatenate. We append the text property of checkbox 1 to this. Okay. Likewise. Now let's do it and see if checkbox 1 dot checked. Okay, you can either put it like this or you may put it like this. Okay, both ways are correct. So this is the shortest form. Let's use this. Sorry, I should have declared a string variable. String movies. Now it is initially empty, then to movies we append the text property of our checkbox 1. Okay, now let's see. Message box dot show. Let's see the content of the variable movies. Okay, now if you run your application, okay, this is empty. The text of the message box is empty. If you click this, you can see. Okay, inside of the if statement, we are building up the string variable we called movies. We are placing the text from the checkbox into this variable. Add a second if statement to your code. So this part you have already done. Then again another if condition. Okay, Now in the second one, again let's check our checkbox 2 dot checked then again to our movies, checkbox 2 dot text. Understood? Likewise you can do now. Let's run and see. Only comedy, then if you tick this, comedy action, only action. Okay, if you click both, you can see comedy action. Now you can see there is no space or any separator between these two. That is just because we have just appended the text available in checkbox 1 and checkbox 2 concatenated without using any separator like space. Okay, so now the second if statement is the same as the first, except it refers to checkbox 2 instead of checkbox 1. Test your code so far, run your program and check both boxes. Click your button and the message box should display the following. Okay, as you can see, they are both on the same line with no spacing. You do not see any spacing or any other separator. Is okay. Stop your program and return to your code to get the choices on separate lines. There are a few ways you can do it. One way is to use the return and new line characters like this. Okay, you may use like this. Okay, so now let's see. To this you can put this one, that is to you append a new line. Let's see. Now this one is in a new line. Okay, so that is the purpose of appending this one okay, at the end of our string. Okay, backslash r gets you a return character and backslash n gets you a new line character. Okay, that's the purpose of this one. So you will append a new line to your string, but you can also use the inbuilt new line character like this. Okay, you can use this one. Okay, that is smarter environment dot new line. Okay, now again let's run this. Now it's okay. Understood? Then new line is a property of the environment class, and its name suggests is it adds a new line to your text. Okay, that means to our text we add a new line. That means the next text will appear in the new line. Add one of the new line options to both of your if statements and then test it out, your message box will look like this with both options checked. Return to your code and add 3 more if statements. When you are finished, your coding window should look like this one. Okay, so now we have 3 more check boxes. So to this one also, let's environment new line. Okay, then let's copy this. This one is our checkbox 3. Four. Five. Now you can see let's select all of them and see. Okay, comedy, action, science fiction, romance, animation, and if you omit some, again comedy, science fiction, animation. Okay, likewise now you can see okay, when you run your program and check all the boxes, the message box will look like this after the button is clicked. Actually this is wrong. Okay, you should see all the movies. Okay, there is a small mistake here. Okay, don't worry. Return to your code and add okay, no, sorry, this is, yes, this is correct. This one is wrong. Okay, you should see here all the items once you click. Okay, that's logically correct. Now if you click all of them, you should see all. And then to get at which radio button was chosen, the code is same as for checkboxes. Just test the checked stated. The only difference is that you need else if instead of 5 separate if statements. Now if you look at this, here you have used only if statements, because once a checkbox is checked, then you have to append the text of that checkbox to your string. Okay, but when it comes to radio buttons, only one is selected. Multiple radio buttons are not allowed. Therefore we can use else if. Instead of using just if, we can use else if. Okay, so now let's go to our form and double click on this button. Now I am going to program this button as well. So let's declare if radio button 1 is checked, then there is no such appending. You just one selection or chosen movie, that is radio button 1 dot text. Okay, now again you have to use, if this is not checked, then you check else if the first radio button is not checked, then else if radio button 2 dot, yes, 2 dot here chosen movie radio button 2 dot text. Else if radio button 3 checked, yes, chosen movie radio button 3 dot text. For dot check property, yes, chosen movie radio button 4 dot text. Then 1 2 3 4, then after that, yes, let's use else if. Okay, radio button 5 dot checked. Chosen movie after that in a message box, sorry, chosen movie. Okay, now that is how we have worked with our set of radio buttons. If you click this, comedy, click this, romance. Okay, that's how we program radio buttons. Now we have an exercise. Finish the code for your radio buttons by adding 3 more else if parts. Display a user's favorite movie type in a message box. When you completed this exercise, your message box should look something like ours below. Your favorite type of movie is. Okay, so here what you should do is to the chosen movie variable, we can append, no, In this way you can do. What you see here is your favorite type of movie is. Now this way is also correct, but chosen movie. Okay, you could have done it in this way. Okay, but it's better you put you take this one and yes. Actually, this plus symbol works as the concatenation operator in C# programming language. Now you can see this. Okay, now you can see. Okay, let's move on from checkboxes and radio buttons. In the next section, we'll take a look at how to debug your code. Okay, and therefore, this is the end of our video. Okay, and if you look at our practical schedule now, this section. Okay, I have completed this section using 3 videos. Okay, and in the next video I will be discussing debugging your applications. Okay, and now this is our project. Okay, so you can go to file, then close solution. In this way you can close our project. Now is still Visual Studio IDE is open. Now from here you can close the Visual Studio. Okay, and now thank you for watching the video.